I never imagined a billion-dollar empire could crumble over a single MOMS diary. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with tension, the kind that wraps around you like a shroud. My heart pounded in my chest as I gripped that worn leather diary. It was nearly falling apart at the seams, just like my life felt at that moment. Samantha, my best friend, had known better days. She sat across from me, her eyes red with unshed tears. "You don't understand," she whispered, her hands trembling. "The secrets in this diary, they're dangerous." I couldn't comprehend how something so small could hold so much weight. Yet, the way her voice cracked made my skin crawl. The room felt like it was closing in on me. Outside, the sun shone on the bustling street, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside this cafe. I thought of her son, a sweet little boy with big dreams. How could a life filled with laughter be toppled by a few pages of ink? The smell of freshly ground coffee mixed with my unease. I had to know. Every word meant to be confidential, yet splattered across those pages, damaging lives with the flick of a pen. I dared to peek inside, feeling the cool breeze against my skin as if it were warning me. The words leaped off the page, combusting with emotion, betrayal, and fear. Couldn't breathe. Each sentence revealed the skeletons of a powerful family. Scandals I couldn't have imagined. Faces danced in my mind, politicians, business tycoons, all vulnerable, all human beneath the facade. Samantha's parents had been right in the thick of it, affluent, untouchable. Until now. Her life spiraled, and I was right there with her, caught in the whirlwind. Suddenly, a loud crash shattered my thoughts. A group of businessmen clattered through the cafe, their laughter echoing, oblivious to the quiet gravity of our situation. I took a deep breath, heart racing. What if they found out? What if someone had already discovered it? Samantha reached for my hand, desperation in her eyes. "We have to get it back before it's too late." Doubt knotted my stomach. Could I stand against the tidal wave of power and greed? How deep did this rabbit hole go? In that moment, everything felt fragile on the brink. This diary had the potential to unleash chaos. My mind raced, ideas colliding as the weight of the world pressed on my chest. I was scared, yet a flicker of adrenaline sparked within me. But time was running out. Someone was already looking for it. I could feel the air shift, a crackling electricity surrounding us. Who else knew? And what were they willing to do to keep this dangerous secret buried? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The first rays of dawn crept into my apartment, casting soft shadows against the worn walls that bore witness to countless nights of deliberation and despair. I hadn't slept a wink. The weight of the diary lay heavy in my thoughts, an ominous reminder of the tempest brewing just beyond my doorstep. As I stared out the window, consumed by memories and a rising tide of fear, my heart felt as if it was balanced on the edge of an abyss. The streets below were slowly waking, unaware of the turmoil that had invaded my life. I caught a glimpse of a young father helping his daughter adjust her backpack, her laughter bubbling up like a song of innocence. They should not have been out there, not with the shadows of my reality lurking, ready to pounce. I envied their simplicity, their unblemished lives. It ignited a flicker of hope within me, a desire to protect those snapshots of joy from being crushed by the sordid revelations within those pages. My phone buzzed against the counter, pulling me from my spiraling thoughts. It was a message from Samantha. I opened it hesitantly. "Can we meet? I need to talk." The urgency of her words struck me, my pulse quickening. I knew she must be terrified. Yet beneath that fear was a resilience I admired. She was a warrior at heart, fighting to reclaim her life. We decided to meet in the park, a space once vibrant with the laughter of children playing, now cloaked in the shadows of uncertainty. As I approached, I spotted her on a weathered bench, her frame slumped and vulnerable. Still, the moment she saw me, her eyes lit up, a flicker of warmth piercing through her pain. "Thank you for coming," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I sat beside her and took her hand, squeezing it gently. "What did you find out?" I asked carefully, not wanting to provoke the storm I could sense brewing within her. "The information is worse than I feared." With trembling fingers, she pulled something from her bag, a crumpled piece of paper. It was a printed article, a story that turned the villains into heroes while burying the victims beneath layers of deception. "They're already discrediting anyone who speaks out. It's a war, Hannah." My heart sank at her words. What are we going to do? I felt hopeless, the enormity of the situation crashing over me like a wave threatening to engulf us. Samantha's brow furrowed with determination. "We can't let them win. We need to find allies, people who also suffered at their hands." I yearned to believe her, to grasp her hope and feed off it like a thirsty plant. But the fear of retaliation gnawed at my insides. Just then, a stranger approached our bench, a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a weary smile. He nodded to us, as if he were privy to our silent turmoil. I couldn't help but overhear. "You're not alone," he said. His voice held an unexpected warmth. "People care. They listen. I've been where you are. My family was embroiled in something similar. Trust me, there's power in telling the truth." A hint of hope flickered inside me. Maybe there were others like him, brave enough to challenge the empire that threatened to bury us. What should we do? I pressed, eager for a plan, for direction. "Start small," he replied, "gather your stories. There are journalists who would listen, people who want to expose the truth. Find a way to get that diary into the right hands." As he walked away, I felt a surge of potential, an ember igniting in my chest. "Maybe he's right," I said, glancing at Samantha. But doubt clawed at the edges of my optimism. Could we really turn this tide? "Let us contact some journalists later," Samantha agreed, her eyes glinting with newfound determination. Just then, the air turned electric, the kind that warned of impending danger. I turned, my stomach dropping as I spotted a familiar figure in a sharp suit crossing the park toward us, a man I recognized from news reports, a major player in the very empire we were grappling with. As he drew closer, time seemed to slow. Every instinct screamed for us to flee, to protect what was left of our shattered lives. But my feet felt stuck to the ground, the consequences of our revelations looming like a dark cloud overhead. "Now," I whispered to Samantha, the panic rising in my throat, "we need to get out of here." We made a mad dash for the exit, hearts racing. Just as we reached the gates, a strangled cry escaped from the depths of my chest, cutting through the fabric of reality. Ahead of us, a figure loomed in the shadows, watching. I turned to Samantha, panic reflecting in her eyes. In that moment of chaos, clarity pierced through the fog. We had drawn attention not just from those who wanted to silence us, but potentially from those who might be willing to help. And as we stumbled away from the park, a chilling thought settled in. What if we weren't just running from danger? What if we were now being hunted? Hope fought against despair, but the stakes had risen, and the battle lines had been drawn. The diary was no longer just a relic of a broken past. It was a weapon, and its power surged through the air like a countdown to an inevitable confrontation. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows that intertwined with the late afternoon light. As Samantha and I stumbled down the sidewalk, adrenaline coursed through our veins, making each nerve ending tingle with a familiar dread. We turned around several times, half expecting to see the suited man chasing after us. But for now, we seemed to have escaped. "Where do we even go from here?" Samantha gasped, her breath hitching as we pressed against the cool brick of a nearby building. "We can't go back to my place," I replied, glancing at the street as if it might offer us refuge. "They might know where I live. We need to find a safe spot somewhere they won't think to look." "There's a cafe a few blocks over," she suggested breathlessly. "They have a back room I used to go to when I wanted to be alone." I don't think anyone there knows me anymore, or at least they don't know what's happening. I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. Every moment spent in the open was a roll of the dice, but the cafe felt like a sanctuary of sorts. Together, we made our way to that small haven, watching the world around us with wary eyes as we navigated through the thrumming streets. Once inside, relief washed over me like cool water. The aroma of fresh coffee enveloped us, momentarily dulling the sharp edges of our fear. We settled into a secluded corner, tucked away from curious eyes, and as I glanced around, I couldn't help but notice an air of normalcy surrounding the other patrons' laughter, gestures, muffled conversations. Felt surreal. How could they continue living their lives when ours were unraveling? Samantha remained distant, staring into her cup, swirling the contents as if trying to extract a solution from the steam rising into the air. I reached across the table and placed my hand over hers, hoping to anchor her in this moment, in this sanctuary of quietness amid chaos. "I'm scared, Hannah," she admitted finally, her voice trembling. "We have no idea who we're up against. What if they find us?" "That man," I said, feeling the urgency pull on my heart. "He might be a warning or he might be a lifeline. We need to reach out to those who have suffered this injustice like us." A glimmer of determination sparked within me, illuminating the fog of fear. Just as I found a trace of courage in my voice, a familiar melody danced through the air. My phone vibrated on the table, the screen lighting up to reveal an incoming call from my brother, Jason. The sight of his name sent a wave of emotions crashing over me. It had been ages since we last spoke, our relationship strained by my unresolved grief and the ensuing silence between us. Should I answer it? I hesitated, knowing I had only hurt him before and feeling the heaviness of this new reality. But something deep down urged me to pick up. I swiped to answer, and Jason's voice came through, hesitating, full of apprehension. "Hannah, I saw something online. I think you need to be careful. Are you okay?" The sincerity in his voice gripped my heart. I'm trying," I replied, my voice cracking slightly under the emotional strain. "But there's a lot happening, Jason. It's dangerous." "I'll come to get you," he insisted, determination threading through his words. "Just tell me where you are." "I'm at a cafe near my apartment. I'll be there in 10. "Wait, Jay," but the line went dead. I looked at Samantha, her brow furrowed. "What is it?" "It's Jason," I said, my heart racing. "He wants to come get us." "Do you think that's wise?" she asked, anxiety creeping back into her expression. "What if they're watching him too?" Before I could reply, the bell above the cafe door chimed, and I instinctively turned to look. My heart dropped. The man in the sharp suit stood at the entrance, scanning the room with piercing eyes. My breath caught in my throat as I felt Samantha's fingers tighten around my wrist, a signal of our shared dread. "Stay here," I whispered urgently, pushing myself away from the table as I slipped down to the floor, trying to remain unseen behind the dense tables. "Don't move." A suffocating silence enveloped. I clung to the hope that maybe I was wrong, maybe he was just a patron passing through. But as he moved deeper into the cafe, I could feel my pulse quickening. I caught a glimpse of a man seated in the back, a journalist I'd seen at community meetings, exchanging nods of recognition with Suit Man. As the tension thickened, my phone buzzed on the table. Jason had texted, his words a sharp reminder that our fragile plan for action was dangerously teetering. "On my way. Just stay put." But how could I stay put with the walls closing in? As I struggled to find a way out of my tangled thoughts, I noticed the barista, an older woman with kind eyes. She caught my gaze for a moment, and I saw her expression shift from confusion to understanding. Before I could comprehend what she was doing, she moved toward the back, gesturing at the door leading to the kitchen. "Trust me, if you need to get away, this way is clear. Just follow me," she said softly, not breaking the connection of our eyes. Before I could think, I nodded, and she gestured once more, gently urging me toward safety. But as I turned to Samantha, uncertainty gripped me. The darkness was closing in with each second. We needed to decide whether to flee or risk everything. And then, something clicked deep within me. I could no longer afford to remain passive. Whatever danger was waiting out there, I couldn't let fear dictate my life any longer. Let us go, I said, meeting her frightened gaze. We'll trust her. It's our only shot. As we slipped toward the back door, I felt the air shift, charged with a new tension, as if we were teetering on the edge of a precipice. In the distance, I could still hear Jason's desperate voice echoing in my mind. The stakes were rising, and time was running out. The potential for the truth to outshine the darkness glimmered tantalizingly close, a whisper amidst the roar of uncertainty. But right before I crossed the threshold, my heart sank. Had we just walked into a trap? There was no turning back now, and the sinister truth lurked at the edges of my mind. The more we fought, the deeper we were drawn into a web that could ensnare us forever. The back door swung open, revealing a narrow, dimly lit corridor that smelled faintly of herbs and spices. Behind me, the cafe buzzed with life, a sanctuary of normalcy I desperately wanted to return to. But the chilling image of the suited man flashed through my mind, reminding me that safety was now an illusion. Samantha hesitated, her fingers still gripping my wrist tightly as we stepped cautiously through the doorway. The barista, Mrs. DeWitt, I recalled, took a quick look around, ensuring the coast was clear before beckoning us further inside. Just stay close, she whispered, leading us down the corridor lined with steel shelves stacked high with pots and pans. I'll get you out through the back alley. Each footfall echoed ominously in the narrow space as we moved, fear intertwining with a flicker of gratitude for this stranger willing to help. The notion twisted in my mind with every second. Who was she, and why was she risking her job for us? But I didn't have time for answers. Reaching a heavy door marked employees only, Mrs. DeWitt paused and turned to us, her kind eyes filled with determination. Once you're outside, head straight for the corner of 3rd and Main. There's an old bookstore, you might be able to find cover there. And don't look back. Thank you, I managed to whisper, my voice barely rising above the thrum of my heart. She nodded, and with a swift, practiced motion, she pushed the door open, revealing the alley bathed in the soft glow of the fading sun. I felt a rush of air against my skin, a chilling reminder that our escape had only just begun. Come on, I urged, stepping into the coolness of the alley. As we began to run, adrenaline surged through me, igniting a fire I thought had long been extinguished. But just as I felt a sense of hope bloom, I caught sight of the suited man standing at the end of the alley, eyes fixed directly in our direction. The breath I had drawn in for courage turned into a gasp, a harsh reminder that danger was never far behind. Run, I shouted, and in that moment, both of us transformed into shadows darting through the twilight. We sprinted down the alley, heartbeats matching the panic coursing through us. With every stride, I felt the weight of our circumstances bearing down. Was this fear ever going to end? We rounded the corner onto 3rd Street, desperate for the bookstore, praying it would be a safe haven. What now? Samantha called out, her voice strained as we slowed, panting against the brick wall of a nearby storefront. Just a bit further, I gasped, eyes darting around for the familiar sign of the bookstore. My heart sank as I saw it up ahead, nestled between 2 larger shops. There it stood, but taking a breath in now felt like climbing a mountain. We pushed ourselves along the pavement, clinging to the hope of anonymity among the dusty bookshelves and the scent of aged paper. I glanced back one last time and saw Suitman turning the corner, the distance between us narrowing with each second. Inside, I shouted, grabbing Samantha's hand as we barreled through the door, the bell jingling behind us. It rang like a warning, but there was no returning now. Once inside, the air thick with the aroma of forgotten stories, I felt a momentary sense of reprieve. But the chatter of the few patrons and the soft murmur of pages turning hardly sufficed to drown out the dread coiling in my stomach. Do you think he'll find us? Samantha whispered, scanning the aisles. I don't know, I admitted, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. We need to hide. Turning my head, I noticed a narrow aisle in the back, lined with towering shelves bursting with books. I led Samantha toward it, the flickering overhead lights casting shadows that echoed our uncertainty. The world beyond the walls faded, filled with whispers of fear. As we crouched behind a shelf, a rush of panic surged through me. We escaped one danger only to dive into another. Where was Jason now? Had he arrived at the cafe? Would he be searching for us, or had we taken too long? Moments felt like hours, the suffocating silence pressing in on us. My mind was sparking with a whirlwind of questions. What else had Jason seen online? What steps could we take next to reclaim our lives? Just then, a nearby voice broke my spiraling thoughts. "There's something you need to know," an unfamiliar voice said, almost conspiratorial. I peered around the edge of the bookcase, trying to catch a glimpse of where the sound was coming from. Two elderly men stood across from one another in a hushed conversation, the weight of their words clinging to the air like smoke. I heard they're looking for a woman, something about a diary. One said, his eyes darting around the space as though searching for eavesdroppers. The other man nodded slowly, worry draping over his features like a shroud. It goes beyond that. She had information, something that could take down their whole operation. My heart raced. A diary? What could they possibly mean? "Do you think she is safe?" the second man asked, his voice fraught with concern. "Whoever she is, they won't stop until they have her," the first replied, a grim finality in his tone. I felt a chill seep into my bones, an icy realization arresting my breath. This wasn't just about us anymore. We were pawns in a game much larger than we had ever imagined. The truth of that diary loomed like a dark cloud overhead. Yet with every ounce of fear clawing at my insides, a part of me ignited with a pulse of rebellion. That diary, somewhere out there, it held power. Power that could change everything if only we could find it. As dread threatened to envelop me, I knew now more than ever that we were no longer running from shadows created by a single man in a suit. We were fighting against an empire, and that fight was just beginning. As the clock continued to tick, I could feel the weight of our choices pressing down, each heartbeat echoing a silent promise. We would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. But just as that thought crystallized, I froze. Suit Man's sharp silhouette appeared in the window of the bookstore, and fear washed over me anew. He was here. The chase wasn't over, and I felt the ground beneath us shift once more. "Get down," I whispered, and with that, the storm began to unravel, and I realized I had never imagined how irrevocably intertwined my life could become with that of a single diary. The seconds felt like fragments of eternity, each breath caught in a delicate web of new fears and the urgency of survival. Hidden among the towering shelves, the once comforting smell of old pages now felt suffocating, as though the very books had absorbed the weight of our looming fate. My heart pounded like a war drum, drowning out the soft murmurs from the other patrons and the quiet rustle of the pages around us. Samantha's grip tightened on my arm, her wide eyes reflecting the flickering overhead lights. The suited silhouette outside didn't just stand as a distant threat. He embodied every doubt and uncertainty that clouded our escape. We were barely breathing, waiting for the next moment, a moment that could unravel everything. "Do you think he saw us?" Samantha whispered, her voice barely above a breath. I dared to peek out from our concealed corner, my throat tightening as I caught sight of his sharp features studying the storefront. He appeared calm, confident, but there was an electric tension in the air, a promise of chaos woven into the fabric of our reality. "I don't know, but we can't stay here." Just as I withdrew into the shadows, the aged floorboards creaked somewhere beyond the aisle, and both Samantha and I froze. A heavy silence enveloped us, the hum of the cafe and the chirping street sounds fading as if the world itself held its breath. "We need a plan," I muttered softly, thoughts racing. The conversation between the two elderly men echoed in my mind, each word a thread tugging me to the possibility of hope hidden within that mysterious diary. Could it truly hold the power to fight this battle? As if on cue, a frail, trembling hand reached into our aisle, lifting a faded blue book from the lower shelf. An elderly woman, a non-entity in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, shook subtly as she flipped through the random pages filled with notes in the margins. I watched, my apprehension mingling with a shard of fascination. Here was a woman seemingly lost to time, Yet her quiet presence unfolded layers of history, secrets folding effortlessly between her fingertips. Was she a mere book lover? Or did she hold a piece of the empire story? The question threaded through my mind, igniting a flicker of hope. "Excuse me," I said, carefully stepping out from behind the shelf. "Do you?" In an instant, her gaze darted back to me, her eyes reflecting a lifetime of experience, shadowed with concern. "You shouldn't be here," she said quietly, her voice a loose whisper brushed by apprehension. Before I could reply, the bell above the bookstore door jingled, and my stomach lurched. The suited man had entered, his presence slicing through the air, and the gentle chatter around me transformed to an abrupt hush. This was his territory, his realm, and our sanctuary was fading like a wisp of smoke under pressure. "Hide," I urged Samantha, pressing my shoulder into her, bringing us both back among the bookshelves. With a heart full of dread, my mind spiraled. What would happen if he found us? The unanswered questions morphed into a whirlpool of terror, drowning out the flickering light of hope. "Where is she?" Suit Man's voice was low, but its weight echoed through the aisles, probing and searching. "I know she is here." My breath caught in my throat, my mind racing through the danger that had suddenly centered around us. The elderly woman turned towards the aisle, her eyes widening, but she steadied herself. For a moment, courage filled the air. "Would you like me to help you find a book?" she asked meekly, her voice steady despite the uncertainty. He turned to face her, and I could almost feel my heart shatter at her daring. "This has nothing to do with books, old woman," he snapped, irritation and menace dripping from his words. "This is about a woman who knows things, dangerous things. Perhaps you should try another aisle," she offered, her voice still quaking but defiant. "We have plenty of mysteries here, all waiting to be discovered." I gripped Samantha's hand tighter, our breaths shallow in the violent glow of the moment. We were invisible, yet exposed, hidden but in desperate danger. The woman's South bravery danced dangerously close to posing a threat to her own safety. Yet here she stood, a beacon of unexpected kindness, willing to take a stand for us. "Enough games," he snarled, moving closer, now towards our hiding spot. I could feel the walls closing in, the air around us thickening like a curtain drawn tight. Suddenly, from the depths of somewhere, a shout erupted from the entrance. "Hey, you!" It was Jason, breathless, eyes wide. Surprise shifted the tension like a jolt of electricity. Suitman turned just for a second, but that was all the time we needed. "Now!" I hissed, shoving my body forward and pulling Samantha by the hand. We sprinted past the elderly woman, and I shot her a grateful glance, her eyes full of understanding and strength. Jason burst in just in time, the collision of his energy cutting through the tension as he grabbed Suitman by the shoulder, yelling something I couldn't hear. The world spun, a blur of urgency and adrenaline as we raced towards the back exit of the bookstore, every heartbeat echoing the uncertainty of what lay outside. "Keep running," I yelled, shoving through the door that led back into the alley, the chaos of the cafe spilling into the night air behind us. As we dashed into the alley, panting and trembling, reality hit, and I couldn't shake the feeling of entanglement that suffocated us all. We were no longer just fleeing. We were entrenched in a whirlwind larger than ourselves. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket, an unexpected jolt of anxiety. It was a text with a single phrase, "I know where the diary is." My heart plummeted with a mix of fear and mystery. Who sent it? Was it friend or foe? Who was that? Samantha shouted, breathing heavily as we pressed deeper into the shadows. "I don't know," I exclaimed, anxiety blooming like a storm. But one thing was clear. What started as a desperate attempt to escape now spiraled into a deeper quest for answers. As uncertainty blurred the line between friend and enemy, we forged ahead, the diary's significance clawing at me, as new challenges loomed in our frantic escape. "Stay close," I said grimly, knowing the storm was far from over, and the chase had merely begun. The night air outside was thick with the smell of rain and a rolling fog that blurred the edges of the street lamps. We sprinted down the narrow alley, hearts pounding, every footfall echoing the pulse of apprehension surging through my veins. The darkness was both a shield and a shroud. To the left, the distant sounds of late-night revelers faded, as if we were leaving a world behind. "What do we do now?" Samantha gasped, her breath coming in quick, shallow bursts. I peered back, and my heart raced at the uncertainty. "We need a safe place to think," I replied, scanning our surroundings. The alley twisted ahead, and I spotted an old, dimly lit cafe tucked away at the far end. "Over there." We hurried toward the cafe, pushing through the door with urgency. The warmth enveloped us, a stark contrast to the chill of the outside air. The glow from the aged lamps illuminated a handful of patrons occupying the corners, a huddled group of artists deep in conversation. A couple sharing secrets over steaming mugs. But it was the barista, an older man with kind eyes, who caught my attention as he looked up, curious yet concerned. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice laced with genuine care. We just need to sit for a moment," I managed to say as we slid into a booth against the wall, shadows wrapping around us protectively. Samantha leaned forward, her face pale but resilient. "Who sent that message?" she asked, her voice trembling yet firm. "What if it's a trap?" "I don't know," I murmured, staring at my phone, the screen an ominous reminder of the unknown. The words lingered in my mind like an unsolved puzzle. "But we can't ignore it. It has to mean something." Before I could delve deeper into my thoughts, the barista approached us, placing 2 steaming mugs of cocoa on the table. "It's on the house. You both look like you could use a little warmth," he said with a soft smile. "Thank you," I replied, touched by the small act of kindness in a world that felt endlessly hostile. Samantha wrapped her hands around the mug, a flicker of comfort momentarily easing the tension that gripped us. "It's not safe here," I said, scanning the cafe, anxiety creeping back. "We have to keep moving." "Not before you tell me what's going on," the barista interjected, folding his arms as he leaned against the booth. "You look like you just escaped a storm." Samantha exchanged glances with me, unsure. "It's complicated," she started softly, but the gravity of our situation seeped through the cracks of her hesitation. "No, it's not," I said, my voice sharpening. "We're being hunted because of a diary, one that could unravel a powerful empire. And we just found out someone might know where it is." The barista's eyes widened, processing my words, a hint of disbelief crossing his face. "A diary? Like a journal?" Samantha nodded, her voice unwavering. "Not just any journal. It contains secrets that could destroy everything they built. But we're in over our heads." The barista straightened up, a mix of curiosity and concern flashing across his face. "You're in way deeper than you know, then. Be careful. People will go to great lengths to keep their skeletons buried." As he walked away to tend to other customers, Samantha leaned closer, her eyebrows knitted with concern. "Do you think we can trust him?" "I hope so. We have to find allies, and I can't shake the feeling he genuinely wants to help." My mind swirled. What if the diary wasn't just a document but a vessel of hope? If we could find it, we could potentially expose the Empire's corruption and save ourselves in the process. But then doubt crept in. "Should we text back?" I asked, glancing at my phone. "Maybe not yet," she replied. "What if they triangulate your location? We can't risk being tracked again." A wave of frustration washed over me. Then what do we do? Wait for another chance while we're hiding from danger? Before Samantha could respond, a figure crept toward our booth, their silhouette elongated by the dim lights above. It was a tall man, dressed in dark clothing, and for a moment, my heart froze in recognition. "Jason," I breathed out, relief washing over me as he slid into the booth beside us. "How did you find us?" "Took a guess," he replied breathlessly, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I saw the suited man outside the bookstore after you ran. I thought you might come here." "He could be right behind you," Samantha interjected, scanning the cafe's shadows. "Let him try," Jason said, his voice steady despite the fear flitting through his eyes. "I'm not afraid of that idiot." I grabbed his arm, urgency returning as I realized the gravity of our situation. "He knows we're after the diary. We need to coordinate our next move, but we have to be strategic." Jason nodded, his determination bubbling beneath the surface. "I can handle some distractions," he grinned, though the smile didn't fully reach his eyes. Just then, my phone buzzed again, and my heart lurched. I felt the static tension in the air as we all turned to look at the screen. The message read, "Meet me at the train depot. I can help you. Come alone." The implications struck with a heavy blow, leaving the air thick with looming possibilities and dangers. "I know where to find the diary," I whispered, dread creeping across my skin. But alone, that could mean they found out about us. "What if it's a trap?" Samantha exclaimed, fear etching her features. "This isn't just about the diary anymore," I said, the weight of decision settling on my shoulders. "It's about not letting fear dictate our choices. We have to face this." But as I looked into Jason's eyes, a sudden clarity dawned upon me. This was only the beginning of a greater battle, one that would ask everything of us. The cafe door swung open, and a gust of wind swept through the room. A taste of something darker lingered on the horizon, and deep down, I knew the stakes were higher than ever. "Stay sharp," I cautioned, my heart racing at the precipice of the unknown. "The real fight is coming. We stand together or fall apart." As we prepared to face whatever choice awaited us, an uneasy question twisted in my gut. Who would be left standing once the dust settled? The cafe felt like a cocoon, warm and safe, but every sound outside reminded me that the world was still out there, cold, unpredictable, and unforgiving. The group of artists' voices mixed with the clinking of mugs, their laughter a stark contrast to the storm swirling inside me. I was supposed to feel alive, yet I felt trapped in an intricate web of consequences that knotted tighter with every choice we made. "Are we seriously considering this?" Jason asked, his voice low enough to keep our conversation private. "Meeting someone we don't even know? It's reckless. It might be our only chance," I replied, conviction hardening my words. "If they can lead us to the diary, we could expose everything they've done. This isn't just about us anymore. There are other people out there." I paused, the gravity of our mission pulling at my heart. "People who can be saved." Samantha bit her lip, staring at her mug as if seeking answers in the swirling cocoa. "But what if it goes wrong? What if they decide we're expendable?" "I'll go," I declared, the weight of my decision pressing upon me. I'd rather face the risk than hide in shadows, waiting for the storm to consume us. "Are you out of your mind?" Jason shot back, concern etching deep into his brow. "You can't just walk into a situation without backup. We have to come up with a better plan." "I know," I said gently, desperation creeping into my voice. "But if we stay in hiding, they win. We have to take a leap of faith." Before anyone could argue further, an object caught my eye, half hidden beneath the table. It was a small, old-fashioned key, worn edges glinting under the cafe's warm light. I picked it up, turning it over in my hand. "Where did this come from?" I murmured, examining every detail. Samantha leaned closer, her eyes widening. "Key to a lock to what?" At that moment, the barista approached again. "Found something interesting?" he asked, noticing the key in my hand. "It was just here," I responded, puzzled. "What might it open?" The man's eyes flickered knowingly. "Ancient artifacts, keys, and mysteries often find their way to people who need them. Be cautious with what you unlock." His words wrapped around my heart like a warm blanket, instilling a flicker of hope amidst the fear. For a moment, all the dangers outside faded, and I wondered if this key could somehow unravel the chaos that loomed ahead. Samantha stood suddenly, glancing out the window. "They might be looking for us. We should go soon." I reluctantly nodded, preparing for the uncertain journey ahead. After a few moments of hushed conversation, we made our way to the door, tension settling like a heavy fog around us. The barista sent us off with a wave, his kindness lingering in the space between us like a fragile promise. Once outside, the damp coolness wrapped around us, sharpening our senses. Gritting my teeth against the biting air, I felt the key's cold metal pressing against my palm, a tangible reminder of the uncertainties we faced. "Let us take this to the depot, then we can decide our next steps," Jason suggested, But his determination was shadowed by worry. We walked stealthily, weaving through the back streets, the sound of distant sirens echoing in the night. At each turn, darker shadows seemed to engulf us, heightening my awareness of every noise around. What if someone was indeed waiting for us at the train depot? What if the voice behind the message was lying? But as uncertainty bubbled in my stomach, I couldn't help thinking about the people the diary could save, the truths we could unveil. I had to trust that somewhere, amidst the turmoil, lay a path only we could walk. The train depot loomed ahead, its contrast of rusting metal and flickering lights a reminder of days long past. Heart racing, I took a deep breath, grounding myself. Remember, stick together and watch each other's backs. But as we stepped into the open area, the reality of our isolation sank in. No sign of anyone, no other figures moving in the distance. It felt eerily quiet, unnaturally still. A chill crawled up my spine. What if it's just a trick? Samantha whispered, her breath visible in the cold. As if in response to her fear, a loud clang echoed through the empty space. We froze, hearts pounding in unison. From the shadows beyond the flickering lights, a figure began to emerge, a silhouette that looked familiar yet terrifying. Before I could call out, I was struck by recognition. The visage was unmistakable, the very face I had hoped never to see again. "Hello, my dear." The voice was silky yet laced with malice, the kind that made the hairs on my neck stand up straight. "You've been busy." Everything inside me went cold. The warmth from the cafe faded into a distant memory. The weight of the diary, the choices we made, and the danger looming ahead collided in an emotional maelstrom. As the figure stepped into the light, I understood that our dreams of hope were now laced with the bitter sting of betrayal. Who would emerge in the end? And would we have the strength to confront the truth waiting for us? The air crackled with tension as the figure emerged from the shadows, and my heart raced like a runaway train. The shock of seeing him jarred my senses. Matt, a ghost from my past, the one I'd spent sleepless nights trying to forget. "I thought you were dead," I managed to choke out, my voice barely breaking past the chaos in my mind. "Ah, but you see, I am very much alive," he replied, an unsettling smile curling his lips. He advanced, each step laying bare the memories I had tried to bury. Those moments of laughter, shared dreams, and, ultimately, the betrayal that shattered everything. "Why are you here?" Samantha's voice quivered next to mine, laced with a fear that felt all too familiar. Her gaze darted between me and Matt, seeking the line between safety and peril. "Let us just say I have a vested interest in your little quest," he purred, leaning against a lamp post that flickered ominously. The shadows danced around him, framing his silhouette like a sinister portrait. "I hear you're looking for a diary. A rather extraordinary diary, if the rumors are to be believed." Every nerve screamed at me to turn and run, but there was nowhere to go. Our entire plan hinged on the diary, on exposing the truth buried within its pages. My mind raced through the implications of this unexpected reunion. Had he known all along? Was he somehow behind the very danger we sought to escape? "You don't want to go down this path, Matt?" I said, trying to find my grounding against the sudden whirlpool of emotions. "You know what it could lead to?" Matt chuckled, the sound dark, echoing off the cold metal structures surrounding us. "Oh, but I think I do, and I thrive on it. All those years spent in the shadows, I've learned that chaos is the only truth." I felt Jason press closer, his stance protective. "You're a coward for hiding behind secrecy and manipulation. We won't let you intimidate us." "Intimidation?" Matt laughed again, shaking his head. "No, Jason. I'm not here to intimidate. I'm here to offer a deal." He leaned closer, and I recoiled instinctively. "Join me, and I'll help you find what you're looking for. All the power at your fingertips. You could be unstoppable." "Endless greed won't lead us to safety, Matt," I said defiantly, though a part of me wondered if the temptation could sway him. "You'll only dig the grave deeper." His expression shifted, and for a moment, genuine hurt flickered across his face. "You think you're better than me? You think your morals will save you?" His voice turned ice cold. The world doesn't work that way. You'll have to play the game, my dear. If you refuse, I will do whatever it takes to ensure you never find that diary. As the words hung in the air, my thoughts spiraled. I had always thought betrayal was the worst kind of grief. But facing the man I once loved felt even more devastating, a reminder that passion could twist into something sinister. My heart ached, a jagged blend of regrets and unresolved feelings. Just walk away, I urged, my voice softer despite the storm raging inside. You don't have to do this. We can find a way to make it right. But Mattis' eyes hardened, and he took a step back, shaking his head at the suggestion. It would be wise for you to reconsider your next move. I will not be the only one looking for you. You don't know the forces at play. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle in. But I do have something to offer. Abruptly, he snapped his fingers, and from behind him, a figure stepped into view. My breath caught in my throat as the familiar face of Isabel appeared, a former ally, now an unsuspecting pawn in Mattis' game. Isabel? I exclaimed, but the question felt hollow. What had happened to her? The vibrant spark of her spirit seemed extinguished, her eyes cast down, a shadow of their former brightness. Your friend here has some insights into the diary's whereabouts, Matt said coolly. She may not be as cooperative as you hope, though. The game is afoot, and I suggest you play wisely. Anguish washed over me, wanting to reach out to Isabel but struck by the reality of her situation. You don't have to do this, Izzy, I called, desperation creeping into my voice. We'll find a way out together. But her eyes remained on the ground, a silent acknowledgement hanging heavily in the air. The betrayal, the fear, and, as always, the choices we had made loomed larger than any of us could overcome. I'll give you one last chance, Matt said, his tone warning. You can either join me and learn the truth, or suffer the consequences of ignorance. Choose wisely. As he turned, the shadows swallowed him whole, leaving us in a suffocating silence, my heart racing with the sharpness of dread. It felt like sitting on the edge of an abyss, unsure of what lay beneath but knowing we were about to plunge deeper. The key pressed against my palm once more, cold and unyielding, as I faced the reality that everything I believed about love, trust, and loyalty was shattering around me. The stakes were higher now than ever before, and there was no turning back. The air was charged with uncertainty, a haunting foreshadowing of choices yet to come, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the storm we had tried to escape was only just beginning. The streets hummed with an eerie quiet, the kind that often precedes a storm. We stood frozen, the weight of Mattis' ultimatum pressing down on us like the thick clouds gathering overhead. I glanced at Jason, whose face was a steadied mask, but beneath it, I sensed the turmoil churning inside him as fiercely as it was within me. Izzy, I whispered, my heart aching for my friend, for the camaraderie that once was. I stepped closer, desperate to bridge the gulf that Matt had widened between us. Please look at me. We can get through this together. You don't have to let him control you. But Isabel remained still, her silence more deafening than the words left unspoken. A million what-ifs raced through my mind, each one pulling me deeper into despair. I could still remember the day we had shared secrets over coffee, the laughter illuminating our dreams of a brighter future, untouched by deception or regret. Now it felt like I was staring at the fragmented pieces of a beautiful mural that had crumbled overnight. Jason shifted, his voice a low murmur. We need to regroup, find a way to outsmart him. The urgency in his words only served to heighten my anxiety, as I watched Isabel's emotional distance widen. Suddenly, a flicker of something caught my eye. The dim light bled through the cracks of a nearby door, beckoning to us. It was an abandoned bookstore, its window dusty and neglected, but within resided a set of unwritten stories, perhaps their last sanctuary. This way, I urged, recognizing the need for a moment to breathe, to conspire away from prying eyes. As we slipped inside, the musty scent of aging paper wrapped around us. A sense of comfort clawed its way back into my heart. I quickly scanned the aisles, searching for stories left untouched, uncertain if we would find solace or a new horror lurking in the pages. Do you think we can trust her? Jason broke the silence, glancing toward Isabel, who had followed us inside but remained by the door, as if tethered to the outside world. I don't know, I admitted, my voice thick with emotion. I should have done more to protect her. She has been caught up in this mess too long. Maybe there's still something inside her that knows who we were, Jason suggested, stepping closer to Isabel. Can you hear me? You're not alone in this. We can fight back together. A sliver of light flickered in Isabella's eyes, tiny but igniting hope like a spark to dry tinder. I'm sorry, she finally whispered, her voice raw and trembling. I don't know how he got inside my head, but it's like I'm drowning, and I don't know how to get back to you. The plaintive sound of her admission pierced through the gloom, and I stepped forward, courage swelling within me. You haven't lost us, Izzy. Remember the day we swore to face everything together? That promise still stands. I reached out, ever so gently, and our fingers intertwined. For the first time in what felt like ages, I felt her warmth fragile but real. Jason took a breath, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly as he stood shoulder to shoulder with me. We could dig into the files, figure out what made Matt tick, he added. There must be clues here that connect Matt to the diary. As we rummaged through forgotten tomes, something inside me stirred. It was a sense of shared purpose, a thread of belonging in a world that seemed intent on ripping us apart. We were a tangle of past pain, but perhaps we could weave a new story from the ruins. Then, as I thumbed through the pages of a dusty volume, a loose paper slipped out, fluttering to the floor like a fallen leaf. I knelt to retrieve it, my breath hitching as I recognized the familiar handwriting. It was Matt's, a note, cryptic but unmistakable. Meet me where we last parted, and I'll show you the truth hidden within the diary. What you seek lies closer than you understand. My heart dropped. Those words were not simply a beckoning. They were a challenge. It was a gamble of monumental proportions, and the gamble felt intimately personal. In that moment, a mixture of fear and longing washed over me. Would I be strong enough to confront him again? The revelations of the past flashed before my eyes, haunting and undeniable. The diary, the lies, Matt's manipulation. It felt like I was spiraling into a maze. But buried beneath the weight of dread was a growing ember of resolve. This is it, I said, my voice steady now, determination coursing through me. I have to go. No, you can't, Isabel protested, her voice rising in fear. What if he's playing you again? I have to face this, I pressed, looking at both my friends. We can't keep running. If the diary holds truths that can topple him, I have to know. With hope flickering in my heart and courage stealing me from the precipice of despair, I took a step toward the exit, realizing I was no longer just searching for a diary. I was searching for myself, a chance to reclaim the parts of me Matt had stolen. As I pushed the door open, a gust of wind whipped through the streets, carrying an unsettling tension. It caught a glimpse of my resolve before settling into the shadows. I turned back once, catching Jason's fierce gaze and Isabella's hesitant nod. But as I stepped into the uncertain night, a shiver raced down my spine. It felt like the calm before a tempest. The stage was set for confrontation, and I could not shake the feeling that I was being watched. The eyes of fate following me closely as I moved closer to the truth that could either liberate or shatter everything I held dear. The cool night air wrapped around me like a shroud as I approached the old park bench, the spot where so many memories had been woven, entangled in the threads of laughter and tears. I had spent countless moments here contemplating life, love, and loss, but nothing compared to the weight that now pressed down upon me. Matt's note burned a hole in my pocket, a reminder that I was on the brink of exposing truths that could alter our lives forever. My heart throbbed, caught in a whirlwind of past emotions mingling with present fears as I neared the bench. My stomach twisted with trepidation. The shadows stretched and swayed under the moonlight, curling like tendrils that sought to reach out and ensnare me. But I took a deep breath, stepping firmly onto the path towards the inevitable confrontation. I had not come this far to retreat. When I arrived, I found Matt already sitting at the edge of the bench, a silhouette against the soft glow of the lamppost. He appeared both familiar and foreign, like a mirage pulled from my memories and made real. The smooth lines of his face lurked in the shadows, and as the light shifted, I could see the intent in his eyes, a flicker of mischief, a sorrowful depth. "Hannah," he greeted, the sound curling around my name like smoke. His voice dripped with something both enticing and poisonous. "You came. I came to see what your version of truth looks like," I replied, holding my own gaze steady. "You said you'd show me what's hidden in the diary. What do you want from me, Matt?" He gestured me to sit, and although every instinct told me to resist, I lowered myself onto the bench, maintaining a distance that felt necessary. "There's so much you don't understand. Enlighten me," I shot back, my voice steady, demanding the honesty I had so desperately sought for years. "How many times must I tell you that power is the most potent currency?" He leaned closer, lowering his voice to a conspiratorial hush. "The diary contains truths that could dismantle everything: wealth, friendships, entire families. But do you realize, Hannah, it's not just about exposing them? It's about reclaiming your own power." I swallowed, the words swirling in my mind like a tempest. He exuded charisma, a magnetism that almost reminded me of what I once believed made him brave. "You can't manipulate me anymore, Matt. I won't bend to your will." His expression shifted from allure to frustration, a minuscule crack in the mask he wore. "And that's where you're wrong. In this world, truth can be used as a weapon. If you trust me, we can change everything together. Imagine what we could accomplish." He leaned back, folding his arms. "Or you can remain a pawn, hiding behind misplaced morals." "You're wrong," I retorted, a fire igniting within me. "It's not about power. It's about integrity, standing up for the people who have suffered in silence, including Isabel." The mention of her name hung delicately in the air, a reminder that our lives were intertwined by more than just past mistakes. "You can't change the past, Matt." He paused, and I seized the moment. "The choices we made, they're painful, but they've brought us here. And despite everything, I choose to do the right thing." In that moment, I could see a flicker of vulnerability flash across his hardened facade. Perhaps he feared the very darkness he wielded. "You think you can take on the world? You think that diary alone will shield you?" His words collided with my resolve, and I felt the heaviness lift for the briefest second. "Yes, it's part of the struggle, but it's not the only piece. I have my friends. I have them because we choose to fight together, and we won't be intimidated by your dark alliances." There was silence, a stillness that resonated with what felt like a long-buried tension between us, one that lingered on the edge of war and kinship. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out an object, the moonlight illuminating it, a small silver locket. "You remember this?" he asked softly, his eyes flickering with unguarded nostalgia. The locket was mine, something I had given him years ago, promise shared between newly found love and hope. My heart clenched at the sight, memories flashing of days unburdened by the chaos of our present lives. "You never returned it." I was afraid. I was afraid that it would taint our past even more," he admitted, the facade starting to crack. "But now, Hannah, you have to understand. Keeping this information from you was never my intention." The flicker of warmth was met with an icy chill, and I almost melted at the tenderness in his words. But where was this leading? "You can't just hide behind what we once had, Matt. Not when people's lives are at stake." He hesitated, weighing his words. "Then let me help you. Together we can expose those who would harm others. They've wronged us both. But at what price?" I shot back, frustration bubbling up within me. "You're still striving for control, still trying to manipulate me into your game of power. Enough is enough." His expression hardened once again, the darkness shrouding his intentions as he backed away. "You think you can push me aside, Hannah? You and your noble intentions? The world will eat you alive." I shook my head, feeling the fire of conviction burning brightly. "No, Matt. If this was truly about helping one another, you would recognize that pushing me away only fuels my fight. But this is not my fight alone. I do it for everyone who has been hurt, and I will not stand down." The air was thick with tension, the electricity crackling like a silent storm waiting to erupt. In that breath of silence, I felt a shift. A vulnerability slipped through the cracks of his armor, one that I had not anticipated. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration mingling with confusion. I could have been your ally, he muttered, a hint of vulnerability surfacing amidst his bravado. You don't understand what I've sacrificed to protect you. And now you're asking me to compromise who I am for your schemes? I countered, determination surging through me. I won't do it. I refuse to play by your rules. An unexpected emotion flickered in his eyes, fear, realization, perhaps even respect before hardened resolve washed over him. You'll regret this, Hannah. Maybe I will, I replied, steeling myself against the weight of his threats. But I won't abandon my integrity. Not for you. I turned and walked away from the bench, the locket and memories clutched tightly in my hand. With every step, I felt the burdens of my past recede, replaced by a powerful sense of purpose. Behind me, I could feel Matta's presence fade into the shadows, a specter of a love that no longer bound me. When I reached the end of the path, I turned once more, heart racing as I glanced back. This is for all of us, Matt, those trapped in fears you and your empire created. You can't hide behind your past forever. As my footsteps echoed back toward the heart of the city, I could feel the heat of a storm brewing, not just of rain, but of change. I knew I would face the empire head-on, armed with the truth and the unwavering support of my friends. They were my anchor amid the chaos, remnants of light guiding me into the unknown. As I stepped back into the wavering glow of streetlights, I glanced down at the locket in my hand. Its weight carried more than just memories. It represented the choices I had made, and would continue to make choices that could redefine my future. Together, I whispered, drawing strength from the memories of those who stood by me. And within that fragile promise sketched the ink of hope that no empire, no past could extinguish. That our fight for truth and integrity would echo across the lives we sought to protect. Because in the end, our stories intertwined not as adversaries, but as keepers of a truth more powerful than anything that had ever tried to tear us apart. No matter the gravity of darkness, love forged through struggle was a light that would never dim. And in that moment, I realized it would be the catalyzing force in the turbulent fight ahead. The diary wasn't simply pages of secrets. It was our rallying cry, propelling us forward into a world still tangled in shadows. Was ready to change the narrative, to face whatever storm might come together. We would illuminate the truth that awaited us. And for now, that was enough.